Welcome back to the Podcasting Problem Solver. I'm Leah Bryant, your podcast growth strategist. Can I tell you the most exhausting conversation that I see happening in podcasting right now? It's the episode length debate. 15 minutes is a sweet spot. No, it's 22. No, it's 45 because that's the length of a commute. And everybody's got a study or a guru or a top podcaster tip to back it up. And you're sitting there with 59 tabs open wondering what the right answer is. Well, I'm here to tell you what no one else is saying. And that is, the length of your episode has almost nothing to do with whether your listener stays. What they're really reacting to, whether they stick around or bail at the 11-minute mark, is whether the episode has somewhere to go, whether they trust you enough to follow you there. So today, we're not talking about the length. Nope, we're going to talk about what's underneath that question, which is whether your episode knows what it's supposed to do. Because when you get that right, the runtime takes care of itself. And if you've ever hit publish on an episode you felt really good about and watched the consumption rate drop off a cliff halfway through, that's exactly what we figure out inside Positioned and Found. The waitlist link is in the show notes. So if the link isn't the thing, what does an episode actually need for a listener to stay through to the end, Leah? Well, I'm so glad that you asked. It needs 3 things: a promise, a job, and a payoff. And I'm going to walk you through each of these because most podcast episodes that I reviewed are missing at least 2. We're going to solve this today. We are going to fix it. The promise is what you make in your first 60 seconds. Not the topic, no, but the specific outcome. So let me give you some examples. Today, we're talking about content strategy. That is not a promise, friend. By the end of this episode, you'll know exactly why your titles are invisible to search and the one shift that fixes it. That's the promise. Specific? Yes. Actionable? Yes. Worth 30 more minutes of your time? Yes. When you make a real promise in that first minute, your listener is committed, right? They are in it for the long run. They will follow you through the whole episode because they know where you're taking them. The job is what the episode is doing for your business. So every episode should move a listener somewhere. Deeper into your world, right? Toward an email list, closer to trusting you enough to buy. So an episode without a job, what is it, class? Content for content's sake. And content for content's sake is what makes a podcast feel like a hobby rather than a business asset. So a fitness coach, for example, recording 5 ways to stay motivated with no call to action or next step, that episode, well, it definitely entertained someone for 18 minutes. And then they went and listened to a true crime podcast. Thanks for coming. Next up is you have the payoff. And this is how it ends. So does the listener feel like they got what you promised? Did the episode build to something they can actually use? When the payoff is strong, people don't notice the runtime. They finish it and immediately think about who else needs to hear this. That's the episode that gets shared, not the one that was 22 minutes. So when all 3 are working, the length stops being a question. You record until the promise is fulfilled and the payoff has landed. And then the episode is done when the job is done, not when that timer hits a number, okay? So I want to push a little on this because I think there's something more important underneath the length conversation that doesn't really get said enough. When you're obsessed over the runtime, you're thinking like a producer, which makes sense. You made the thing, you know how much work went into it, and you want it to feel substantial, right? I get it. After producing podcasts for 6 years, I get it. But what I want you to hear me say is your listener is not thinking like a producer. Your listener is thinking like a person with 45 minutes in their car and 12 shows in their queue. They're making a split-second call on whether your episode is worth their time. And they're making that call based on your title, your first 30 seconds, and whether they trust you to deliver that. So the better question, the one that is really going to improve your episode is, did I earn this listener's attention from the very first sentence? And did I keep earning it all the way through? That's a strategist question. It produces completely different episodes than, is this 20 minutes yet? So 2 fitness coaches. We're going to give you some examples. Same niche, right? They had the same audience. We'll use sustainable morning routines as a topic. So let's use Coach A, recorded for 38 minutes. She covered the research behind morning routines, her own routine in detail, and 5 different frameworks, a list of apps that she used, and went on a tangent about sleep cycles. It was pretty thorough and genuinely, yes, good information. Her listener retention did drop to 40% by the halfway point and kept falling. Now, the other coach recorded 16 minutes. She made one specific promise in the first 30 seconds. By the end of this episode, you'll know exactly why your morning routine keeps failing and one shift that fixes it. She built the whole episode to a single framework, tied it with a nice bow with one call to action, and it pointed them to her free habit audit. And you know what happened? Her listener retention held at 73% through the entire episode. The 38-minute episode, which problem do you think it had? Do you think it had a focus problem, or do you think it had a length problem? If you said focus problem, you would be correct. The 16-minute episode worked because every single minute had a reason to be there. The architecture of their episodes is what made the difference. So before you record your next episode, I want you to answer these 3 questions on paper, not in your head, where you'll convince yourself you answered it when you definitely didn't, because been there, done that one too many times. All right, so question 1, what is one specific promise I'm making in the first 60 seconds, and can I say it in one sentence? Now, I know that can be difficult. I get it. You could do it, though. Question 2, what is the job of this episode for my business? Where is it moving my listener to? Question 3, what is the payoff? How does this episode end in a way that makes the listener feel like they got exactly what I promised? So I want you to have all 3 of those answered and clear before you hit record. And then record it. Don't look at the time, because every episode, when you answer those 3 questions, will be exactly how long it needs to be. And if you can't answer all 3, then do not record. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Definitely phone a friend, and that friend is Leah. I want you to figure out the architecture of your episode first, because the episode will be a billion times better for it, and your consumption rate numbers will definitely show it too. So in my Seamless Podcast Framework, this sits at the intersection strategy and execution. So strategy is where you define what your episodes are built to do. Remember that promise, the job, the payoff for the listener. So like execution is where you build them well. Most podcasters will just skip straight to execution. Who needs a strategy? No, we don't want a strategy. We got our pretty mic. We got our setup. We are going and recording. I know. And they sit down, they record, they publish without strategy, without thinking about it. Execution does produce the content that sounds fine, but it doesn't go anywhere. Remember that if you don't have strategy. The length debate is a clue of skipping strategy. Because when your strategy is clear, you know exactly what the episode needs to accomplish, and the runtime becomes irrelevant. It's almost like ain't nobody got time for that. I know what I need to say. I'm going to say it, and however long it takes is how long it takes. Boom. You're just building until the job is done. And that's the difference between podcasting tactically in podcasting with intention, what I always talk about. And it shows up in your consumption rates all the time. I can look at your numbers and tell you. And if today made you realize that your episodes might have a strategy problem underneath that question of how long should my episode be, that's the work that we do inside Positioned and Found. It's my 10-week group coaching program. We will build that strategy layer that most podcasters skip so your episodes have a clear promise, say it with me, job, and payoff before you ever sit down and record again. You will find that link in your show notes. So waitlist is open. You do not want to miss it. I'm only taking 6 people. It's going to be small. It's going to be quaint. It's going to be amazing. We're going to get so much work done. Your podcast is going to be thanking you. It's going to be amazing. All right. So that's it for today. If this episode shifted something for you, I want you to share with another podcaster who's been losing sleep over their runtime. You know who you are. You know who they are. They need this more than they need a stopwatch. And I will see you next week. Until then, keep your podcast growth seamless.